When we think about climate change, we usually picture those big, dramatic images, right? Melting glaciers, massive storms. But what if the biggest, most immediate threat isn't actually to the planet, but to our own bodies? Today, we're going to look at climate change in a totally different way, not as some far off environmental issue, but as a personal, unfolding medical emergency. So, what is the real cost of all this? I mean, we talk about it in terms of rising sea levels or dollars and cents, but that's really missing a huge piece of the puzzle. The true cost? Well, that might be measured in hospital visits, in the way diseases are spreading, and in the quiet, invisible damage that's happening inside our bodies, day in and day out. This quote just nails it. It gets right to the heart of the matter. See, climate change isn't just about the environment. It is a massive public health crisis. It acts as what you'd call a threat multiplier. It takes every health issue we're already dealing with and just cranks up the volume. It's a medical emergency hiding in plain sight. Okay, so let's really frame this as a public health emergency. To get a handle on the direct medical fallout, we're going to zoom in on India, a place where these impacts aren't just some future projection anymore. They are a daily reality. First up, let's talk about something absolutely essential to life: water. Because in our changing climate, water has become this double-edged sword. Having way too much of it, or way too little, now poses some really serious and distinct risks to our health. And here's the paradox we're up against. Climate change is creating these two opposite extremes, and both of them lead to a public health nightmare. So whether you're talking about a flood that contaminates the clean water supply or a drought so bad that people are forced to drink from unsafe sources, the end result is the same: a perfect storm for disease. So let's start with the too much water scenario. Think about a densely packed city like Mumbai, where huge floods are happening more and more often. This isn't just about property damage. It's a biological hazard. When the sewage systems get overwhelmed and mix with drinking water, wow, you've just created the perfect breeding ground for devastating diseases like cholera, typhoid, and hepatitis A. Of course, the flip side is just as grim. In places hit by drought, the lack of safe water means you see a huge spike in diarrheal diseases. It's this awful, desperate choice between dying of dehydration or getting sick from the only water you can find. A choice nobody should ever have to make. And the problem just keeps building from there. It's not just about the water itself. It's about the diseases that are now on the move. Climate change is literally redrawing the map for infectious diseases, pushing them into completely new areas where people have absolutely no defense. The key idea to understand here is the disease window. Think of it almost like a hunting season for an illness. Well, warmer temperatures and different rain patterns are making those seasons longer. They're giving carriers, like mosquitoes, way more time and a lot more territory to thrive than ever before. Here's a perfect example. In Delhi, the peak season for dengue fever used to be in September. Now, it peaks in November. That 2-month shift might not sound like much, but it represents a massive threat. It gives those virus-carrying mosquitoes a much longer window to breed and infect people, all because of a subtle rise in temperature. And it's not just dengue. Malaria is on the move, too. It's a disease that we've always associated with warm, humid areas, right? Well, now it's starting to show up in cooler, higher altitude regions like Himachal Pradesh. The communities there have no built-up immunity, and you can bet their healthcare systems are completely unprepared for it. So, beyond the diseases we can see and track, there are these invisible threats that are just as dangerous. Let's talk about the very air we breathe and the heat all around us, two things that are basically being weaponized by a warming planet. All right, let's talk about PM 2.5. These are microscopic pollutants. They come from burning the fossil fuels that, ironically, power things like our air conditioners. The real danger here is their size. They are so incredibly small that when you breathe them in, they don't just stop in your lungs. Oh no, they bypass your body's natural defenses and invade your bloodstream. So how does this attack actually work? Well, first, you breathe these particles deep, deep into your lungs. From there, they're tiny enough to slip right through into your bloodstream. And once they're circulating, they can go everywhere, causing inflammation and serious damage to your most vital organs. And here's a quick breakdown of just how bad that damage is. In your lungs, it causes inflammation. It makes things like asthma way worse. For your heart, we're talking about damaged blood vessels and a much higher risk of heart attack and stroke. It even messes with your kidneys, making them less efficient. It's a quiet, systematic assault on your body. And then there's the heat itself. When it gets extremely hot, Your heart has to work overtime just to keep you cool. But the really sneaky danger comes at night. As nighttime temperatures stay high, our bodies lose that critical window they need to cool down and recover. That means you're putting constant 24/7 stress on your entire cardiovascular system. And as always, the most vulnerable among us get hit the hardest. There's more and more evidence linking extreme heat and air pollution to devastating outcomes for newborns, things like preterm births and low birth weight. Their health is being compromised from the very first moments of life. And the final piece of this emergency, well, it affects our most basic human need, food. The health of our planet is directly tied to the health of our food supply, and right now, that system is in crisis. Just look at this chain reaction. Unpredictable weather comes in and wrecks crop cycles, which leads to food shortages. The food that does manage to grow is often less nutritious than it used to be. Even our livestock is affected. Heat-stressed cattle produce less milk. It's a full-on attack on our food security from every angle. And what's the ultimate result of all this? Chronic malnutrition. Now, this isn't just about feeling hungry. It's about a hidden epidemic of nutrient deficiencies that weaken our immune systems, making us, especially kids and the elderly, so much more vulnerable to every single disease we've just talked about. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The warnings have been there for years, but what we've just laid out proves this isn't some problem for our grandkids to solve. When it comes to our health, the crisis is already here. It's happening right now. So I'll leave you with this final thought. For a long time, we viewed climate change as an environmental problem, and that's led to a certain kind of response. But if we start to accept that it's a full-blown medical emergency, which it is, then how does that change things? How must our priorities, our investments, and our sheer sense of urgency, how must all of that fundamentally change?
You can download the complete notes of this video from the pinned comment below. If this video helped, do like and subscribe to the BriefCase for daily visual explanations.